Hello and welcome to the channel, and today I would really like to talk about the Olympus OM G.Zuiko 50mm f1.4 silver nose. I've just by chance acquired this lens, one of the so-called Olympus silver nose lenses. I already had the later third generation Olympus OM Zuiko MC 50mm f1.4, and I made a video about that, and I'll put a link to it up here. And I was really intrigued to see what the differences were between the two lenses. So what is a silver nose exactly? Well, when Olympus launched its 35mm OM camera system at Photokina in 1972, the lenses all had chromed filter rings and they were single coated. These lenses stayed in production until roughly 1983-84, when they were replaced by multi-coated lenses. The situation is not entirely clear-cut, as between 1972 and 2002, when production of OM Zuiko lenses ceased, there were 4 generations of the 50mm lens, where each iteration brought about some improvement in either the optical performance or the manufacturing efficiency. The slide I'm putting up goes through the various changes each generation brought. So I decided to make a practical test and compare my first generation 50mm f1.4 silver nose to my third generation lens, and to see what was different. So what are the physical differences between my two lenses? Well, the silver nose is single coated, while the latter models are multi-coated. In theory, the multiple layers of mineral coatings on the lens should increase the amount of light transmitted through it, cut down on flare and improve the contrast, which all adds to the apparent sharpness of the lens. Both lenses have the same lens construction of 7 elements in 6 groups. Both lenses have 8 curved aperture blades, and the physical dimensions are slightly different, with the silver nose being 36 by 60mm in diameter and 227 grams in weight, while the latter multi-coated version is 40mm high and 60mm in diameter and weighs in at 229 grams. Both lenses have a lovely dense feel with the glass inside a metal barrel. The focusing is beautifully buttery smooth with a throw of 180 degrees, and the aperture ring is click-stopped in one-stop hole intervals. So optically, how do they compare? Well, wide open, both lenses were very noticeably soft in the centre and at the corners, with the multi-coated version having a bit more contrast. The silver nose had very pronounced chromatic aberration, while on the MC version it was more controlled. By f2.8, the MC version's chromatic aberration has cleared up completely, and in the centre of the frame both lenses have improved sharpness and contrast. In the corners, the multi-coated version has improved sharpness and contrast, while the silver nose shows no improvement in sharpness, but the contrast is slightly better. At f4, the silver nose is now equal in performance to the MC version in all areas except for chromatic aberration, where it is still present. At f8s, both lenses have reached their best optical performance, and the chromatic aberration has cleared up in the silver nose. By f11, both lenses are starting to show the effects of diffraction, and at f16 both lenses are quite soft and the CA has returned. In terms of optical aberration, both lenses exhibit mild barrel distortion and produce vignetting. Stop down to f4 and the vignetting disappears. When it comes to flare resistance, well, it should come as no surprise that the later multi-coated version is better than the single-coated. But the difference isn't as marked as you'd expect. Both lenses are prone to veiling glare, which reduces contrast and dynamic range. Lens flare and reflective glare is also present in both lenses. This is where light is reflected off the lens elements and bounces around the lens internals until it hits either the film surface or the surface of a digital sensor. The colourful polygons that are often seen is light reflected off the rear of the lens diaphragm. The more you stop down, the worse they become. Changing your composition so specular highlights aren't visible in the frame and or using a lens hood can fix the problem. On the subject of lens flares, we should also talk about diffraction spikes or sun stars. Well, they're not very special, being poorly defined. This all sounds pretty damning, but we shouldn't compare these lenses to their modern counterparts. A lot has happened in lens design and manufacture in the last 40 to 50 years. You buy these old lenses if you are looking for character.
Now, you don't buy an f1.4 lens and not be concerned about the quality of the bokeh. Well, given both lenses have the same lens construction and aperture configuration, they are all but identical. Misshapen cat eye bokeh at f1.4 throughout the frame, polygonal bokeh balls as you stop down. More importantly, the transitions from in focus to out of focus are nice and smooth.
Which one of these lenses would I recommend? Well, I didn't buy either of these lenses for a specific purpose. Both of them came bundled with a camera body that I bought. The Olympus OM Zuiko MC 50mm came with an OM4 that I bought in 1986, and the Olympus OM G.Zuiko 50mm came with a camera body I just bought. Now, if you were to ask me which Olympus OM Zuiko 50mm 1.4 is the best, then I would have to say neither of these. It is generally acknowledged that the best version is the 4th generation one with a serial number higher than 1,100,000. The argument that single-coated lenses are inferior to multi-coated lenses doesn't take into account what the photographer actually wants from a lens. Generally, single-coated lenses are favoured for black and white photography, as the lack of contrast and the flatter look suit the medium, especially if you do your own printing in the darkroom. Multi-coated lenses give stronger colours, more contrast and reduced flare, which makes them suitable for coloured photography. But that's not all of it. Some colour photographers like a more muted palette, lower contrast and lens flares as they think it adds character, so favour the use of single-coated lenses. Indeed, they are also popular with cinematographers for the same reasons. If you like punchy, high-contrast black and white photos, then look at a multi-coated lens. Oh, and if you do go to buy one, don't be fooled by some seller saying they are a rare item. Millions were produced in the course of the production run. They're not that rare at all. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this informative and enjoyable, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.